Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. That night started like any other. We had just finished dinner, nothing fancy, just leftovers and a little wine, and we were sitting on the couch, talking about random things. I remember laughing at something silly he said. He seemed relaxed, normal, loving, even. I had no reason to think anything was off. But looking back now, I realize how easily we miss the small signs. The little changes. The silence between words. We've been married for 8 years. We've had our share of ups and downs, like any couple. But we always found our way back to each other. That's what made us strong, or so I thought. What happened that night didn't just shock me, it broke something I didn't even know could break. It's the kind of thing that stays in your head. The kind of thing that replays over and over when you're lying in bed, wondering what you missed. I didn't see it coming. Not from him. He was the one person I trusted the most. My partner, my best friend. And then, in just a few hours, everything changed. It wasn't just what he did, it was how he did it. Calm. Cold. Like a stranger. I remember standing there, not knowing whether to scream or cry. I felt frozen. You think you know someone until a moment like that shows you a side you were never supposed to see. I know you're probably wondering, what did he do? Why would it haunt me? And how can love and pain exist in the same breath? I'll tell you everything. Not to get sympathy. Not to shame anyone. But because stories like this matter. Because sometimes the people we love the most are the ones who surprise us the hardest. This isn't just about betrayal. It's about trust. About how fragile love can be when it's pushed to the edge. And maybe, just maybe, about finding your way back even when everything feels lost. So tell me, have you ever had a moment where someone close to you did something you never saw coming? Something that changed the way you looked at them forever? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them. And if you want to vote on what you think happened that night, check out the poll in the description. Was it betrayal, a secret, a confession, or something else entirely? Stay tuned. Because what my husband did that wild night will haunt me forever. I kept replaying that night in my head, trying to piece together how it all started. It wasn't like he came home angry or distant. In fact, it was the opposite. He was unusually sweet that day. He called me during lunch just to say he missed me. He even picked up my favorite dessert on the way home, something he hadn't done in months. Looking back now, it felt like he was trying to cover something up. Or maybe preparing me for a shock. I don't know. But it didn't feel real. It felt staged. We had always been that couple who people thought had it figured out. You know, the perfect pair. We fought sometimes, sure, but nothing dramatic. We were the kind who posted cute anniversary pictures, held hands in public, and said I love you out of habit. But lately, I had felt something was off. Not huge, just small things. He'd started spending more time outside, on the phone. Said he was handling work stuff. Sometimes he'd be on the balcony at night, just scrolling, lost in thought. I asked once, and he brushed it off like I was being paranoid. That night, though, his calmness was what scared me most. He wasn't nervous. He didn't fidget. He just looked me in the eyes, told me he needed to talk, and then said something that knocked the air out of my chest. I won't tell you what it was. Not yet. Because if I'm honest, I'm still trying to believe it myself. I remember my hands shaking, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. And he just sat there, like it was nothing. Like what he said hadn't just torn apart everything we built. He had a reason. Or at least he thought he did. He said he didn't mean to hurt me. But how do you explain doing something that changes your partner's view of you forever? I wasn't angry at first. I was numb. Silent. I just stared at him while the world seemed to spin slower around me. And then I asked him one question: why now? Why tonight? And you won't believe the answer he gave me. Before I continue, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had someone you love hide something huge from you? What would you do in that moment? Comment below or vote in the poll to tell me how you'd react. Your voice matters. I just sat there, staring at him, waiting for some kind of explanation that would make any of it make sense. But his answer, it only made things worse. He said he didn't plan for it to happen, that it just did. He kept using those words like it was some accident he tripped into. But things like this don't just happen. Not when you're married. Not when you've promised someone your trust, your loyalty, your everything. I asked him again what really happened that night. And he looked away. That silence. It was louder than anything he could have said. That's when I knew there was more. Much more. Something he still wasn't saying. My gut told me the truth was uglier than what he had confessed. And the worst part. A small part of me still wanted to believe him. Still wanted to protect what we had. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was like my emotions were stuck in some locked room inside me. I wanted to yell, to demand answers, but my voice felt trapped. So I got up, walked to the kitchen, poured another glass of wine, and tried to breathe. He followed me. Not too close. Just enough to remind me he was still there. I turned to him and said, "You need to start telling the truth. All of it." That's when he hesitated. He rubbed his hands together like he was building courage. And then he dropped another piece of the puzzle. It wasn't the first time. Whatever he did that night, he'd done something like it before. Maybe not the exact same, but close enough. And suddenly, the past year started to make more sense. The late nights, the random mood swings, the weekends where he said he needed space. He tried to defend it. Said he was going through things. Feeling lost. That it wasn't about me. That he still loved me. But love doesn't excuse secrets. Love doesn't erase the damage done in the dark. And then he said something else. Something that flipped everything. He wasn't alone that night. Someone else was involved. Someone I knew. Someone I trusted too. I felt the floor shift under me. Betrayal from him was one thing. But from them? That was another level. What would you do in that moment? If two people you trusted kept something this big from you, how would you even begin to move forward? Would you confront both? Walk away? Try to fix it? Let me know in the comments. Your opinion matters more than you think. And before you go, who do you think the other person was? A friend? A coworker? A family member? Drop your guesses below. The truth might just surprise you. I could barely breathe. My chest felt tight, like something was pressing down on me. I stared at him, searching his face for any hint of regret, any crack that showed this was tearing him up too, but he just stood there, still. Too still. When he said the other person involved was someone I knew, I asked who, almost in a whisper. And the way he paused, the way his eyes dropped to the floor, I knew it wasn't just anyone. It was someone close. Someone who had been in our home. Sat at our table. Laughed with me like everything was normal. He wouldn't say the name. Not yet. He kept saying, "It's not what you think, and it wasn't planned," like that would somehow make it less painful. But those words didn't help. They only made it worse. Because if it wasn't planned, if it just happened, then how long had it been going on? How many lies had I been living in without knowing? I felt like I was in a dream, or more like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every memory started twisting in my mind. Birthdays. Holidays. Random nights watching movies. Was that other person there too? Smiling, pretending, helping me clean dishes after dinner, knowing full well what they were hiding? He finally said it, he wanted to talk to both of us together. Me and the other person. Said he owed us that. And in that moment, I didn't know whether I wanted to scream or walk out the door and never come back. The thought of being in the same room with both of them, hearing the truth face to face, was almost too much. But I needed answers. I needed to see it in their eyes. All the lies. All the choices. So I agreed. I told him to call them. Tonight. He didn't hesitate. That scared me more than anything. It was like he had already prepared for this moment. And I couldn't help but wonder, had they talked about this? Had they planned what they'd say when the truth came out? Now I was just waiting. Sitting in that quiet house, staring at the front door, knowing that any second, it would open and everything would come crashing down. What do you think is going to happen when the door opens? Who do you think walks in? And what would you do in my place? Comment your thoughts below and stay with me, because the most intense part is just about to begin. The knock at the door was soft, but it felt deafening in the silence. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. He looked at me, then stood up without saying a word and walked over. The way he opened that door, slow, almost cautious, told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't just nervous. He was afraid. And then I saw her. I couldn't believe it. It wasn't who I expected. Not at all. It wasn't a coworker or a distant friend. It was someone much closer. My cousin, MIA. The same person who helped plan our wedding. The one who always called me her sister. I couldn't move. My whole body went cold. She walked in like she belonged there, like she had already played this moment in her head. No tears. No apology. Just a weird calmness, like this was something she had already accepted. I stood up slowly. I looked at both of them, hoping this was some horrible mistake. But the look they shared, it said it all. They had a connection. A quiet, practiced understanding. It was real. And it had been going on far longer than either of them was ready to admit. Then, before I could even speak, she said something that flipped the whole story on its head. I didn't want to do this, she said. But you left me no choice. I was stunned. Me? What did I do? That's when she started telling her version. She claimed this started because of me, that I had changed. That I'd grown distant. That I was always too busy, and he needed comfort. She made it sound like I had pushed them together, like I had built the bridge they crossed behind my back. That's when the argument exploded. He tried to defend her. Said they didn't plan to hurt me. Said they didn't expect feelings to grow. I was done listening. My hands were shaking, and I asked him one thing. Was this love? Or just a mistake? He didn't answer. I looked at her. She didn't flinch. She just stood there like she already knew what was coming next. And maybe she did. Maybe they both did. I walked out of the room. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to understand how everything in my life flipped in one night. But just as I reached the front door, I heard something that stopped me in my tracks. A third secret. One they never meant to say out loud. What do you think it was? What could they both be hiding even now? And if you were me, standing there, with your marriage in pieces and someone you trusted standing on the other side, what would you do? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think is telling the truth? And what's the real reason they came clean tonight? This story isn't over yet. Not even close. I was halfway out the door when I heard her say it. Barely above a whisper, but clear enough to stop me cold. She was supposed to find out after the paperwork. I turned around slowly, the silence between us louder than any scream. My husband's face turned pale. He tried to stop her, but it was too late. That one sentence pulled every thread loose. What paperwork? I asked, not even recognizing my own voice. He didn't answer. Neither did she. That's when I walked back in, heart racing, feeling like I was walking into the final blow. I stood in front of him and demanded the truth, all of it. No more half stories. No more excuses. And that's when it all spilled out. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to start over, without me. He had already spoken to a lawyer. He was going to file for divorce, quietly. He didn't want a fight. He didn't want the mess. So he waited. Pretended. Smiled. Held my hand, kissed me goodbye, made dinner plans, all while arranging a future where I didn't exist. That was the moment it hit me hardest, not the betrayal, not even the lie, but the strategy. The coldness of it all. I wasn't losing my husband. I had already lost him. Long before that night. And MIA? She was part of it. She stood there, not ashamed, not even sorry. Just confident. Like she believed she deserved it all. But then came the twist even they didn't see coming. I pulled out the envelope from the drawer. I hadn't planned to use it that night. I had found it a week earlier, a bank statement with a name I didn't recognize. I did my research. Quietly. Patiently. Turns out, my husband had more secrets. Not just emotional betrayal. Financial, too. Hidden transfers. A private account. Money moved around behind my back. I placed the papers on the table. He looked at them, then at me. His face dropped. And for the first time that night, he was speechless. So I said what I had come to realize all along: you too planned your future. Good. I've planned mine too. If you were in my shoes, would you expose them publicly? Walk away quietly? Or take control of everything they tried to hide? Tell me in the comments, because the end. It's not always the end you expect. He didn't say a word. Neither did she. The silence between us was heavy, but this time, I wasn't the one holding my breath. I was done begging for the truth. I had it now, and with it came something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. I told them both to leave. Right then. No yelling, no crying. Just a firm, clear voice that didn't need to explain itself. She tried to say something on the way out, something about it not being like this, but I cut her off. You made your choice, I said. And now I've made mine. That night, I sat alone in the same house that once held memories, now echoing with betrayal. But I didn't break. I didn't fall apart. Instead, I started making calls. I met with a lawyer the next morning. I had every paper, every transfer, every lie documented. He thought I wouldn't notice. He thought I'd be too shocked to act. But he underestimated me. Within weeks, the divorce was underway, and the financial truth worked in my favor. Turns out, love wasn't the only thing he mishandled. And MIA? She lost more than she gained. Her reputation, her peace, and any relationship she thought she could build from deception. I spent the next few months rebuilding not just my life, but my sense of self. I traveled, reconnected with friends, picked up hobbies I used to love but pushed aside during the marriage. I wasn't bitter. I was free. And strangely, that betrayal became the beginning of something better. Not just revenge, but real healing. I learned what I'd ignored, what I settled for, and most importantly, what I would never accept again. So to anyone watching who's ever been lied to, blindsided, or made to feel small, know this: your peace is worth protecting. Your worth isn't measured by someone else's failure to love you. Would you want to see a sequel where I cross paths with them again? Maybe years later, when everything's changed? Comment below what you think of this ending. Would you have handled it the same way, or gone a different route?